Okay, so Visions of Mana is coming soon. A brand new entry for a classic series there. There's a demo out, and Tom's taken a look at it. Thoughts, Tom?
Yes, yeah, it's from Uka Studio, which interestingly is a subsidiary of NetEase, who
Yeah.
just we just covered a recent game of theirs, Marvel Rivals. Yeah, interesting. So PS5, Series X, and a PC release as well. And bizarrely, there's just one last gen version on the PS4. There's no Xbox equivalent there. Um, I mean, this series goes way back, and it's been a couple of years since the last one. Obviously, Secret of Mana was the big game I think a lot of people were exposed to in the Seiken Densetsu series, as it's known in Japan, back in '93. And the thing that made this series interesting, well, for that game in particular, was it was the sort of real time, sort of action, sort of real time combat game where Squaresoft was better known for its turn based games at the time, Final Fantasy. And it also had a extra trick up its sleeve in the form of a 3-player co-op on SNES, which was quite interesting for the time. So flash forward, was it 31 years since then? And it's an Unreal Engine 5 take on the idea. It's a single player game now. You switch between 3 characters, but the art style is kind of in line with that. There's some beautiful concept art that's realized on Unreal Engine 5. Great looking anime style models with flowing hair and like wind flowing through the trees. And this trial I tried on Series X and S. It's kind of taking you through this frosty area. You've got platforming, you've got combat. It's a good sample of what's to come. I guess it is kind of it is a trial. You know, there is a demo. We're going to get the full thing on August 29th, but you get 2 modes on Series X. Both are unlocked to 60 frames per second. The performance mode is 1080p native, and the quality mode is 1440p. No visual differences otherwise. And the thing is, the quality mode just doesn't have a 30 FPS cap. That's the big criticism here. It's just sort of wavering up and down between 35 and 60. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense. It's 30 in cutscenes either way, but yeah, the only way you're getting to a locked 60 is, and I think it does make sense for the combat, is to run at performance mode on at 1080p.
Right.
And even then, there are kind of occasional drops. I checked out the Series S version as well. In that one, it seems a bit more dynamic, and there's just one mode. It's just it's unlocked to 60. It's 1080p to 1260p, but because it's unlocked to 60 FPS, you only really get there when you look right at the sky, and anything like actually in game, you're just kind of wavering between 30 and 35 FPS. So it's just another case you just need a 30 FPS cap there. I think the only other thing to say is that Series S has some dropped shadows and LODs on shadows as well, dropped shadow quality. But otherwise, it looks really good on all, both platforms. Very stylish, great looking game with these sort of semi-open areas like Dust Bowl areas where you explore and engage in combat. So interesting kind of return for the series. And did you check this out, either of you?
I checked it out on PC. I can't say I was hugely impressed with the stuttering in there that I saw, but I only just quickly played it for a few moments. But we do have this supporter comment from Killer Fugu. Hope all are well. How is the state of Unreal Engine games on DX12? They're known for stutters, both shader and traversal. Yet devs don't seem to be hearing this. The demo for the newest Mana game came out. I was excited to try it, but the first cutscene is locked to 30 FPS. There's massive frame drops whenever the camera transitions. This is true, I noticed that. And then when you get into gameplay, the stutters were horrific, with massive frame time spikes. I saw my FPS dip from 160 to 80, and the second combat was the same, as it was different enemies and effects, so presumably more shader compilation. Surely this stuff is well documented enough at this point. There was no shader compilation step at all on boot up, which seems like it could have easily solved this, as the game runs fine once you get past the initial butchery. Yeah, I mean, this isn't going to be an issue that's going to be that's going to be noticeable on consoles, I suspect, because well, the shaders are all pre-compiled. But what about that cutscene stutter transition? Was that fine on you or for you on the consoles?
Yeah, it was. So I think it's another case of it points to the shader compilation issue being in the domain of PC, where they've got to uncompile the assets on the fly, where it's all already kind of set on the console front. So yeah, it was a fluid 30 in the cutscenes. So they are able to achieve the 30 FPS cap and do it stutter free on console. So
right, okay, but they just don't want to do it in gameplay.
Yeah, they want to, for whatever reason. They had high aspirations. They thought we can do it, and then actually,
it's a really attractive game. To be fair, on PC still, I played it at 4K on a 4080. Didn't seem to have a huge amount of options. Interestingly, you boot it and it says, "Do you want to favor image quality or resolution?" Sorry, image quality or frame rate. It's like, well, this is a PC game. Let me choose in the options menu. And there are 3 different settings there, but it's all very, very nondescript. Oliver, did you check this out?
I did. I played it for a few minutes. I think it looks good. I think it looks pretty good. It's pretty cross-gen. It's using UE. I don't know if they're using UE4, UE5, but if they are using 5, they aren't using the feature set, really. There's no Lumen, NI, VSMs, whatever.
Yeah.
But it does look like it looks nice for what it is. I mean, I always thought the trailers looked good. In motion, during gameplay, it's maybe not quite as compelling as like some of those big cinematic moments. The combat didn't grip me quite as much as a game like, let's say, Tales of Arise, which has a kind of similar art style and a similar kind of party-based combat system. But I'm interested to see the full game. I'm not as excited with some of the performance options. Like you said, Tom, the Xbox version does seem to have some performance issues, even though it's like 1440p 60, which seems pretty reasonable for a game of this caliber. But I guess we'll have to wait and see for the final code. In terms of how the PC demo works, I mean, I don't think it portends anything that good for the final game, but I also don't think it's the end of the world if your demo has some comp stutters.
That's true.
I mean, it's a bad first impression for sure, but it is a demo. I'm not exactly sure how to score that one. I think it's reasonable.
You got to wait for final code, but it does raise red flags.
Exactly. Sure. I would agree with that for sure.